In today's video, I'm explaining every Minecraft biome's unique features, from biomes where hostile mobs refuse to spawn, to places that'll summon something that can kill you through full netherite armor, and one biome at the end breaks every rule about mob spawning in ways that'll make you rethink how Minecraft's dimensions actually work. But first, we need to talk about the Deep Dark, because what spawns there isn't supposed to exist in survival mode. Deep Dark. This is the only biome in the entire game where ancient cities generate, and it's the exclusive home of the Warden. You're not going to stumble into this place by accident because it sits at the deepest layers of the world, way below where you'd normally mine for diamonds. The whole biome is covered in skulk blocks that pulse with this eerie blue glow, and every step you take risks setting off a skulk sensor. Those sensors connect to skulk shriekers, and if you trigger a shrieker 3 times, the Warden spawns. This thing hits harder than anything else in Minecraft, dealing massive damage even through full netherite armor, and it doesn't care about your shield or your positioning. The ancient cities themselves are massive underground structures filled with loot chests, redstone contraptions, and the only place you can find reinforced deep slate, which is completely unbreakable in survival mode. You'll also find swift sneak enchantment books here, which let you move faster while sneaking, and that's the only way to get them. The whole experience of exploring the Deep Dark feels like a horror game because one wrong move means you're fighting something you probably can't kill. But here's the thing, if Minecraft created a biome designed to kill you instantly, why would they also create the complete opposite? Keep that question in mind because the answer involves mushrooms and complete immunity. Mushroom fields. This is the only biome where hostile mobs will never spawn naturally, making it the safest place in the entire overworld. The ground is covered in mycelium instead of grass, and giant mushrooms tower over the landscape like twisted trees. Mushrooms are the exclusive mob here, and they're basically cows that have mushrooms growing out of their backs. You can shear them to get regular cows, or you can milk them with a bowl to get mushroom stew, which is basically infinite food once you set up camp. No zombies, no skeletons, no creepers, nothing hostile will ever spawn on mycelium, which makes this biome the ultimate safe haven if you can find it. The problem is that mushroom fields are incredibly rare, generating as isolated islands far out in the ocean, and you might explore for hours without ever seeing one. The combination of safety and rarity makes this biome feel like a hidden paradise, and players who build bases here never have to worry about lighting up the area or building walls. Safety is one thing, but what if I told you there's a biome that breaks ore generation rules entirely? Not diamonds, something more valuable for speedrunners. Badlands. This is the only biome with increased surface gold ore generation, and you'll find more gold here than anywhere else in the game. The entire landscape is made of terracotta in layers of different colors, creating these natural striped patterns that look like real-world mesas. Red sand covers the ground instead of regular sand, and dead bushes are scattered everywhere, giving the whole place this deserted wasteland vibe. Gold ore generates at all heights here instead of just deep underground, so you can literally find it exposed on the surface without even digging. Mine shafts in the Badlands generate above ground too, with their wooden supports sticking out of the hills like the ruins of old mining towns. You won't find many passive mobs spawning here because the terrain is so harsh, but the trade-off is worth it if you need gold for powered rails or golden apples. The wooded Badlands variant adds oak trees on top of the plateaus, creating one of the strangest combinations of biomes you'll ever see. Gold on the surface sounds broken, but there's a biome where the environment itself grows so fast it becomes the ultimate renewable resource. And it's home to the rarest passive mob in the game, Bamboo Jungle. This is the only biome where bamboo generates naturally, and it grows so thick that it's almost impossible to see through. Pandas spawn exclusively in this biome and the regular jungle, but they're way more common here, and you'll often find them sitting around munching on bamboo. The bamboo itself grows incredibly fast, making it one of the best renewable resources for building scaffolding or smelting items in furnaces. Podzol covers the ground instead of grass, and the whole place feels like a dense rainforest where you can barely move without bumping into something. Jungle temples still generate here just like in regular jungles, giving you access to loot and the same redstone traps. The main reason players seek out bamboo jungles is for the pandas and the bamboo farms, because once you grab a few pieces, you can grow infinite amounts back at your base. It's also one of the few places where parrots spawn, and they're useful for detecting nearby hostile mobs. Pandas are rare, but what Mojang added in 1.20 completely changed how players think about mountain biomes, and it involves something that literally falls from the sky. Cherry Grove. This is the only biome with cherry trees and falling pink petals, and it was added in the 1.20 update as part of the mountain biome family. The entire area is covered in pink and white cherry blossom trees, and when you break the leaves, pink petals fall to the ground like snow. You can collect these petals and place them as decorative blocks, and they're the only way to craft pink dye without using flowers. The biome generates on mountain slopes, so you'll usually find it at higher elevations surrounded by meadows or other mountain biomes. Pigs, sheep, and bees all spawn here naturally, and the bees are especially especially common because of all the flowering trees. The aesthetic is completely unique compared to every other biome, giving off this peaceful Japanese garden vibe that makes it perfect for building bases. Players who want a calm, beautiful spot to settle down always gravitate toward cherry groves because the visuals are just that good. Mangrove Swamp. This is the only biome with mangrove trees, mud blocks, and warm frogs, all of which were introduced in the 1.19 wild update. The mangrove trees grow directly out of the water with their roots exposed, creating these tangled networks that you can walk through. Mud blocks replace the normal dirt and clay, and you can craft them into packed mud and mud bricks for building. Warm frogs spawn here exclusively, and they're the orange variant that drops frog lights when they eat magma cubes. The water in mangrove swamps is murky and filled with lily pads, and you'll often find bee nests hanging from the trees. Witches can spawn in huts just like regular swamps, and slimes still spawn at night in certain chunks. The main draw of this biome is the mangrove wood, which has a deep red color that's perfect for building, and the propagals that hang from the trees act as saplings. The whole atmosphere feels like a tropical wetland, and it's become one of the most popular biomes for players who want a unique swamp base. Those are surface biomes, but underground is where Minecraft's 1.18 update got really dangerous, and one cave biome can literally kill you just by existing above your head. Dripstone Caves. This is the only biome with pointed dripstone formations, and it was added as part of the 1.18 Caves and Cliffs update. The ceiling and floor are covered in dripstone clusters that grow into sharp stalactites and stalagmites, and if you walk under a falling stalactite, it can impale you for serious damage. Water drips from the ceiling where dripstone is placed over a water source, and you can use this mechanic to create infinite lava farms by placing lava in a cauldron under a dripstone. The caves themselves are massive and open, with copper ore generating more frequently here than in other biomes. Drowned mobs can spawn in the underwater sections, and bats fly around everywhere because of how dark it gets. The dripstone blocks are the main reason players search for this biome, because they're essential for renewable lava, and they look great as decorative building blocks. The whole place feels dangerous because of the falling stalactites, but the resource potential makes it worth exploring. Dripstone tries to kill you, but there's another underground biome that does the opposite, and it's home to the only mob in Minecraft that comes in 5 different colors. Lush Caves. This is the only biome with glowberries, axolotls, and spore blossoms, and it's one of the most visually stunning underground areas in the game. The caves are filled with moss, azalea bushes, and dripleaf plants, creating this underground jungle that glows with natural light from the glowberries. Axolotls spawn in the water pools, and they come in 5 different colors, with blue being the rarest. Spore blossoms hang from the ceiling and drop green particles constantly, and they're purely decorative but look amazing in builds. Clay patches generate on the floor, making this one of the best places to farm clay for bricks. The glowberries can be harvested for food and light sources, and they grow on vines that hang from the ceiling. Lush caves always generate under azalea trees on the surface, so if you find one of those trees, you know there's a lush cave directly below. The combination of resources and aesthetics makes this biome a favorite for builders and explorers. Caves are one thing, but there's a surface biome where mobs spawn in ways that break Minecraft's normal rules, and it's been in the game since the beginning. Swamp. This is the only biome where slimes can spawn on the surface naturally instead of being limited to specific underground chunks. The water here is dark green and covered in lily pads, and you'll find oak trees with vines hanging from every branch. Witch huts generate exclusively in swamps, and they're the only place where witches spawn naturally. Blue orchids are the unique flower here, and they're the only way to craft light blue dye without combining other colors. Slimes spawn at night in swamp biomes, but only when the light level is low and the moon is in certain phases. Fossils can generate underground in swamps, giving you access to bone blocks. The whole biome has this spooky, murky atmosphere that makes it feel dangerous even though it's not particularly hostile. The main reason players visit swamps is for the slimes and the witch huts, because both provide valuable resources like slime balls and redstone dust. Slimes on the surface are rare, but what if I told you there's a biome so dark that hostile mobs spawn during the day, and it contains the rarest structure in the overworld, dark forest? This is the only biome where woodland mansions generate, and those mansions are some of the rarest structures in the entire game. The trees here are giant dark oak trees that grow so close together that the forest floor is almost completely dark even during the day. Huge mushrooms spawn naturally, and the canopy is so thick that hostile mobs can spawn at any time. Woodland mansions are massive 3-story buildings filled with vindicators, evokers, and allays locked in cages. The evokers drop totems of undying, which are essential for hardcore players because they give you a second chance if you die. The mansions sections also contain tons of loot chests, secret rooms, and unique decorative blocks like dark oak wood. Finding a dark forest is one thing, but actually locating a mansion inside it can take hours of exploration because they're so rare. The whole biome feels ominous and dangerous, which fits perfectly with the hostile mobs inside the mansion. Darkness and danger define some biomes, but Minecraft also created the complete opposite, and it has more flower varieties in one place than anywhere else in the game. Flower forest. This is the only biome with extremely high flower variety, featuring almost every type of flower in the game. The ground is covered in tulips, poppies, azure bluets, oxeye daisies, and more, creating a rainbow of colors across the landscape. Bees spawn in higher numbers here because of all the flowers, and you'll often find bee nests hanging from the oak and birch trees. The biome is basically a more colorful version of a regular forest, and it's perfect for players who need flowers for dyes or suspicious stew. Rabbits spawn here more frequently than in other biomes, giving you access to rabbit hide and rabbit meat. The main draw is the aesthetic because flower forests are some of the most beautiful biomes in the game, and they're popular spots for building cottages or farms. The sheer variety of flowers makes this biome essential for anyone working on a dye collection. Flowers everywhere sounds peaceful, but there's a mountain biome where villages generate in places they shouldn't be able to, and the reason why reveals something about Minecraft's world generation. Meadow. This is the only biome where villages generate on mountain slopes, creating settlements that are built into the hillsides. The ground is covered in grass, flowers, and occasional oak trees, and you'll find donkeys spawning here instead of horses. Bees are incredibly common because of all the flowers, and you'll see bee nests everywhere. The biome generates at higher elevations, usually between mountains and plains, and it has a peaceful, pastoral atmosphere. Pillager outposts can spawn in meadows, and the combination of villages and outposts can create some interesting situations where you find them right next to each other. The flowers here include dandelions, poppies, and azure bluets, and the whole place feels like a perfect spot to start a base. The main reason players love meadows is the combination of resources and aesthetics, because you get villages, bees, and a beautiful landscape all in one place. Villages on slopes are unusual, but one biome variant takes this to the extreme with terrain that rises 100 blocks straight up, and it creates natural fortresses. Savannah Plateau. This is the only biome variant with extreme savanna terrain, featuring massive flat plateaus that rise up to 100 blocks above sea level. The ground is covered in coarse dirt and acacia trees, and you'll often find villages built on top of the plateaus. Horses and llamas spawn here, making it a great place to start a mount collection. The plateaus create natural defensive positions for bases because hostile mobs have to climb up to reach you. The biome is a variant of the regular savanna, but the elevation difference is what makes it unique. You'll find the same dried grass and acacia wood, but the terrain generation creates these dramatic cliffs and flat-topped mountains. The views from the top of a savanna plateau are some of the best in the game, especially during sunset when the whole landscape lights up orange. Height advantage is powerful, but there's a plains variant with a feature that's actually useful for navigation, and it's the only place you'll find it. Sunflower Plains. This is the only biome with sunflower double plants, and they grow scattered across the grassland in clusters. The sunflowers are 2 blocks tall and always face east, which can actually help with navigation if you're lost. Villages still generate here just like regular plains, and horses spawn naturally. The biome is basically a variant of the plains biome, but the addition of sunflowers makes it instantly recognizable. Players often use sunflowers to mark locations or create decorative paths because they're tall enough to see from a distance. The seeds can be harvested for yellow dye, but the main appeal is the aesthetic because fields of sunflowers look incredible. This biome is perfect for building farms or bases because the flat terrain makes construction easy. Land biomes are one thing, but Minecraft's oceans hide features that only generate in specific temperature variants, and one of them involves living blocks that die if you touch them wrong. Warm ocean. This is the only biome where coral reefs generate naturally, and the underwater landscape is filled with colorful coral blocks and sea pickles. Tropical fish spawn in huge numbers, and you'll find dolphins swimming near the surface. The coral comes in 5 different colors, and it only stays alive if it's in contact with water, turning gray and dead if exposed to air. Pufferfish and warm ocean ruins generate here, giving you access to underwater loot. The water is a bright turquoise color that's completely different from other ocean biomes, making it easy to identify from above. Sea pickles generate on the ocean floor and provide underwater light sources. The main reason players dive into warm oceans is to harvest coral for building and decorating, because it's the only place to get living coral blocks. Tropical warmth is nice, but there's an ocean biome at the opposite extreme, and it contains the fastest ice variant in the entire game. Frozen ocean. This is the only ocean biome with icebergs, and they tower out of the water in massive formations of packed ice and blue ice. Polar bears spawn on the icebergs, and strays can sometimes be found frozen in the ice. The water itself is covered in a thin layer of ice that you can walk on, but it'll break if you're not careful. Blue ice is the fastest ice variant in the game, and it's used to create super fast iceboat highways in the nether. Ocean monuments don't generate in frozen oceans, but the icebergs themselves are valuable for ice harvesting. The whole biome feels barren and hostile because of the freezing water and lack of light. Players usually visit frozen oceans specifically for blue ice, because it's one of the most efficient ways to gather it in bulk. Ice on the surface is useful, but deep underwater is where ocean biomes get truly dangerous, and it's the only place where a specific structure spawns that inflicts a debuff you can't cure. Deep ocean variants. These are the only places where ocean monuments generate, and they're massive underwater structures guarded by guardians and elder guardians. The deep ocean goes down way farther than regular oceans, sometimes reaching depths of 50 blocks or more. Elder guardians inflict mining fatigue, making it nearly impossible to break blocks without clearing the monument first. The monuments themselves are made of prismarine blocks, and they're the only source of sponges in survival mode. Gold blocks are hidden inside the monument as treasure, and the whole place is filled with hostile guardians that shoot lasers. The deep ocean variants include deep cold, deep lukewarm, and deep frozen, but all of them share the same monument generation. The main reason players raid ocean monuments is for the sponges and prismarine, because both are essential for underwater builds. Ocean monuments are underwater, but there's a shore biome that breaks the rules about what beaches should be made of, and it's completely useless except for one thing: Stony Shore. This is the only shore biome made of stone instead of sand, creating these dramatic rocky coastlines. The terrain is steep and rugged, often rising directly out of the water into stone cliffs. No passive mobs spawn here naturally, and the whole biome feels barren and uninhabited. Buried treasure maps sometimes lead to stony shores, but digging through stone is much harder than digging through sand. The stone itself is regular stone that can be mined for cobblestone, but the lack of resources makes this biome one of the least useful. The aesthetic is cool if you want a dramatic coastal base, but there's not much else to find here. Players usually pass through stony shores without stopping because there's nothing unique to gather. That's the overworld. But the nether is where biomes get actually hostile, and one of them is the only place where you can farm food without leaving hell. Crimson Forest. This is the only biome with crimson trees and hoglands, and it's one of the most dangerous nether biomes. The crimson nylium covers the ground, and crimson fungi grow into massive tree-like structures. Hoglands are hostile mobs that attack on sight, and they're the only source of pork in the nether. Piglins spawn here too, and they'll trade with you if you're wearing gold armor. The whole biome is bathed in red fog, and weeping vines hang from the crimson trees. Shroom lights generate at the top of the trees, providing a bright light source. The main reason players explore crimson forests is for the hoglands and the crimson wood, because both are useful for food and building. The biome feels hostile and alive compared to the barren wastes. Red forests are dangerous, but there's a nether biome that's the exact opposite, and it's safer than most overworld biomes despite being in hell. Warped Forest. This is the safest nether biome with the fewest hostile mobs, and it's covered in warped trees and warped nylium. Endermen are the most common mob here, and they're everywhere you look. The fog is blue instead of red, giving the whole place this eerie alien atmosphere. Warped fungi grow into massive trees that are even taller than crimson trees, and they're made of warped stems and warped wart blocks. Twisting vines grow upward from the ground, and they can be climbed like ladders. The main reason players visit warped forests is because it's the safest place to gather resources in the nether without constant combat. The warped wood has this cool teal color that's perfect for unique builds, and the lack of hostile mobs makes it easy to harvest. Safety in the nether is rare, but one biome takes it away completely with terrain that slows you down while mobs shoot you from every direction, and it contains fossils that shouldn't exist. Soul Sand Valley. This is the only biome with soul sand, soul soil, and basalt fossils, and it's one of the most hostile environments in the nether. Soul sand slows you down when you walk on it, and soul soil doesn't have that effect but still supports blue soul fire. Skeletons and ghasts spawn in huge numbers, making it almost impossible to explore without taking fire damage. The basalt fossils look like the rib cages of giant creatures, and they're scattered across the valley floor. The whole biome is covered in blue fog, and the terrain is rough and uneven. Soul speed boots are essential for moving through this biome quickly, and the soul sand is required for growing netherwort. Players hate exploring soul sand valleys because of how dangerous and slow they are, but the resources are necessary for potion brewing. Slow terrain is frustrating, but there's a nether biome where the environment itself is designed to trap you vertically, and it spawns more of one mob than anywhere else. Basalt deltas. This is the only biome dominated by basalt pillars and magma cubes, and it's the most vertical nether biome. The basalt generates in massive columns that stretch from floor to ceiling, creating these maze-like structures. Magma cubes spawn in huge numbers, and they bounce everywhere, making combat chaotic. Blackstone replaces netherrack as the main block, and it's used for crafting tools and building. The whole biome is covered in gray fog, and pools of lava are everywhere. The terrain is so rough that it's easy to fall into lava or get cornered by magma cubes. The main reason players visit Basalt Deltas is for the basalt and blackstone, because both are essential for certain builds. The biome feels like a volcanic wasteland that's constantly trying to kill you. The nether tries to kill you actively, but the end does something different. It hides the most valuable item in Minecraft behind floating cities, and only one biome generates them: End Highlands. This is the only end biome where end cities generate, and they're floating structures filled with shulkers and loot. The terrain is made of end stone with occasional chorus plants, and the ground rises into hills and plateaus. End cities contain the only elytra in the game, which are wings that let you glide through the air. Shulkers guard the cities, and they shoot levitation projectiles that make you float uncontrollably. The cities also have end ships attached to them sometimes, and those ships always have an elytra and a dragon head. The whole biome is in the outer end islands, past the main dragon arena, and you need to defeat the dragon and go through a gateway to reach it. The main reason players explore End Highlands is for the elytra, because it completely changes how you travel. Cities with elytra are the goal, but between the main island and the outer islands is something worse than any hostile biome: absolute nothing. End Barrens. This is the only end biome made of empty outer terrain, and it's just flat end stone with no structures or features. Endermen spawn everywhere, but there's nothing else to find here. The biome generates between the main island and the outer islands, creating these vast empty spaces. Players usually rush through End Barrens as quickly as possible because there's nothing worth stopping for. The lack of resources makes this biome completely pointless, except as a buffer zone. The chorus plants don't even grow here, so it's just a wasteland of end stone. Empty wastes are bad, but there's one end biome that's even more pointless, and it's literally just floating rocks that exist to make you fall into the void. Small end islands. This is the only biome consisting of tiny floating islands, and they're scattered across the void beyond the main end. The islands are so small that you can barely fit a few blocks on them, and falling off means instant death. Chorus plants grow on some of the larger islands, but most are completely barren. Endermen can still spawn here, and they'll teleport between islands. The whole biome feels dangerous because one wrong step sends you into the void, and there's no way to recover if you fall. Players only visit small end islands if they're building or exploring, because there's no real reason to be here otherwise. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more on Minecraft, click the subscribe button.